Angels Care Home Health, serving Hayes and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
I would recommend Angel Care to anybody. They have really helped me regain my strength.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible. Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.
I couldn't have survived this without Angels Care.
Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome again to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television. Thanks for watching, and thanks to our producer, Jeff Geral. We're on the campus of Fort Hays State University, Malloy Hall in Felton Start Theater, with Assistant Professor in the Department of Music, Dr. Joseph Perniciaro, as we talk about music events at Fort Hays State University. And one of the music events that Dr. Perniciaro is involved in rather closely is the Spring Opera. You brought opera to Fort Hays State University back again several years ago, Dr. Perniciaro. Talk about the Spring Opera for us, would you?
Well, we're doing a double bill of Samuel Barber's A Hand of Bridge and Giancarlo Menotti's The Old Maid and the Thief. And we are billing them as a live radio show. The Old Maid and the Thief was actually the first opera composed for radio. So it has a history in that venue, and we've chosen to take those two pieces and insert them as a live two-part radio opera hour is how we're billing it.
So there is an interconnectivity between the two then?
Yes. Menotti actually wrote the text for A Hand of Bridge. So Barber and Menotti are very closely linked as composer and librettist. Menotti also wrote the text to Barber's opera Vanessa, which won a Pulitzer in the 1950s. So yeah, there is a connection between them, that musical and literary.
Tell us about the date, the time, the location, ticket availability, such as that.
So March 7, Saturday at 7:30 p.m. in Felton Start Theater on the FHSU campus, and March 8th, Sunday at 2:30. Tickets are $15 general admission and $10 for students and seniors.
And they're available here at the Felton Start box office.
Yes, in the box office, and also if you go online to the Department of Music and Theater website, we now have an online ticket reservation system. So you could also use credit card and go that way.
Now, is this part of the overall music package that people can purchase at the early fall for the event?
It is part of the theater subscription series. Now that we are one department with music and theater, we've had a really great relationship of putting the two, or the entire stage series, together as one package, and it's created a great collaborative relationship.
And it's also made for some fantastic programs,
yes,
both in theater, drama, musical, and as well as, of course, choral and instrumental works as well.
Definitely, definitely.
Well, speaking of theater, we really ought to give Tommy Williams a little credit, shouldn't we?
Yes. You know, she's sort of a lifesaver. She helps with everything. She is charging, you know, taking charge of tickets, and she coordinates the publicity and created a fantastic box office display, sort of charting the history of opera through yearbooks at Fort Hays. She's the costume designer, you name it, she does it.
Let's go back to the Spring Opera and the synopsis, would you, Dr. Perniciaro?
So the first piece is really a look at 1940s, 50s society. Two couples playing bridge, and each of them has a moment where we get to see what's going on inside their head. And it's a slice of beyond the veneer of 40s and 50s America. What is slightly below the surface.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So we get an introspective.
Very much so, very much so. And we get to see how those underlying feelings affect their relationships with their spouses and with their bridge friends.
Ah, Some interesting revelations, I suspect, will occur.
Yes, yeah, it is probably a good insight into the psychology of mid-century Americans.
Aha. Now, what about the second part?
The Old Maid and the Thief is really an opera about mistaken identity, as most operas sometimes have that component. About two women, one of whom is sort of a society matron and her housekeeper, and this strange, unexpected man who shows up on their door, and how they mistakenly take him for someone else gets them all into a little bit of trouble in the end.
Notice how carefully Dr. Perniciaro is parsing his words so he doesn't give away the entire plot theme.
Exactly.
And yet at the same time lures us
Right.
into, wow, that sounds intriguing.
They're both very fun shows. They're American, very accessible, you know, and the music itself is very accessible. So it's something that, you know, some people might think of almost in a style that is similar to maybe contemporary musical theater, in the delivery, in the characters. So it's a very fun evening.
Well, as far as the music goes, will there be some kind of a connection to the 40s and 50s era as far as the music representation?
Yes. Well, we have a great opportunity for some composition students. Tim Rolls, who teaches composition here, is guiding two students in composing some jingles. So within this overall production of the radio show, we will have sponsors, we'll have a theme song for Radio Opera Hour, and so that's giving these students in composition an opportunity to compose something very specific, you know, maybe not what they're doing in their lessons as free composition, working with lyrics that are already written, how they use some orchestration to accompany these jingles. So that's one of the things that we're using to tie them together.
And the stage setting itself will be actually a radio studio look.
Yes.
Even going to have the sound effects area and the whole package.
Yes, very much so.
History of opera in music. Talk a little about that, Professor.
Well, I mean, I think you have to, I'm teaching opera history this semester, so this is all sort of fresh, and my students can appreciate this. We really look at Venice in 1637 as the advent of commercial opera. Up to that point, it had been mainly courtly, a treat for monarchy, aristocrats. And in 1637, with Venice being really the hub of commerce in Western Europe at the time, we now have this development of opera, and it slowly spread then to France, to England, to Germany, and each country then developed sort of national styles that really took us through the 19th century and into the 20th century.
Was there a point at which it transitioned from being for the aristocracy to the common people?
I would say 1637. There was a new opera house built in Venice that was purely commercial. So they were beholden to the public, and if it was popular, they sold tickets. If it wasn't, they didn't. So that's really when it began to be disseminated to the general public.
And I've heard you say that the general public generally well received the opera presentation.
Yes.
That it was really entertainment for the masses.
Definitely, definitely. And the subjects became more broad. So you had characters that offered a different slice of life. You know, there may be a hero, there may be a monarch, but there would also be sometimes comic relief in the form of a servant, a jester. So yeah, they were trying to appeal to a larger audience that wasn't specifically going to the opera as part of a wedding celebration.
And talking about history, Fort Hays State and the Department of Music has a unique history in opera.
Yes, we have records going back to 1910 as the first opera at Fort Hays which is pretty miraculous if you think about what Hayes must have been like in 1910. They did the Mikado at the university. So, and the Mikado really being a late 19th century Gilbert and Sullivan piece was probably pretty new for 1910, especially in western Kansas. So yeah, very unique and long tradition.
But the tradition of opera itself, we normally think of as being Italian, if you will, or, you know, in a language other than English.
Yes.
But that transitioned as well, not only with the music, but with the language.
Yeah, I would say really until probably the last 20 years, there was this real battle between opera purists who said opera should always be in the original language, and particularly Americans and some British companies that really did opera in the vernacular. And with the advent of surtitles or translations of the text being projected, most companies have now gone to sort of original language productions. But there is, particularly for an undergraduate institution like Fort Hays, there is really a lot of benefit in getting the students to use opera in their own language as an expressive tool and also as an audience development tool as well.
Once again, the spring opera will be the dates, the times, the tickets at Felton Start?
Yes, March 7 at 7:30, March 8th at 2:30. Tickets are $15 general admission and $10 for students and seniors.
And the two operas?
A Hand of Bridge and The Old Maid and the Thief.
Always like to ask music professors the value of music, not only for students, but for those of us in the audience. What's your take on that, Dr. Perniciaro?
Well, I think particularly as I work with students here who are not music majors, I think the more they can experience and develop their passion for music, though they're not going to do it as a career, really only develops arts advocates. And there are just so many ways, studies done with how music helps math and other things in general education, K-12. But just having citizens who have experienced music intimately and have developed a fondness for it can only help us as we go forward in really maintaining funding for the arts, arts in the curriculum, K-12, which is really crucial. And you know, we're at a place where we can't be beholden to budgets as the only way of deciding whether curriculum in the arts should be in or out. And
arts adds so much to the overall experience, not only of students, I think, but of audience as well.
Sure. I mean, you get to go to a different place. Yeah. You know, you get to experience another person's reality. You know, you get to go to an imaginary place and get away from things for a while. So yes, it's a great stress reliever and hopefully an enjoyable evening.
And we certainly need to continue the support and the funding for
Definitely.
arts throughout the
100%.
education process.
100%.
Talk in our last moment or so, if you would, about upcoming music events. So let's highlight a couple of those.
Sure. Well, the next theater production is the week of April 23rd. It is Figaro, which is an adaptation of the Figaro story for opera, The Marriage of Figaro. So that will be a great time. Tommy Williams is directing that. The first weekend in May, we have the Masterworks concert, which is also now the President's Concert, and we'll be doing the Brahms Requiem. Very excited to have two of my students doing the soprano and bass solos with the Hayes Symphony in that. And we have a full slate of concerts and recitals that can be found on the FHSU Department of Music and Theater website.
Okay, easy to find.
Yes.
FHSU.edu.
.edu, yes.
Okay. And we want you to continue, too, with your vocal work, too, and performances.
Yes, I will be in Europe this summer doing a recital in Stockholm, Sweden, and really going off of research on a Swedish composer who was important in the 20th century, probably one of the most prominent vocal composers in Sweden, and the settings of Tang Dynasty Chinese poems set in Swedish. So that's the next thing off campus, but I'll also be doing a chamber music set on the Cottonwood series in April. So that should be a lot of fun.
Bringing that expertise and that gaining of your knowledge back to the students
Yes,
at Fort Hays
definitely.
State University.
Definitely.
Terrific. Assistant Professor at the Department of Music, Fort Hays State University, Dr. Joseph Perniciaro. Our community connection. Thanks for watching.
Angels Care Home Health, serving Hays and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
There's not any words to describe their kindness.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible. Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.
They saved my life.